Buonasera, come state? Come va? Siete svegli? Siete con me? Allora, il Wired Next Fest continua. Immagino sappiate chi ci sta per raggiungere sul palco. Io dico due parole due. Vi ricordo che il suo ultimo film, un film che ha aspettato molti anni, 20-25 anni per vedere la luce, L'uomo che uccise Don Quixote, è nelle sale dal 27 di questo mese. Voi potete ascoltarlo anche in italiano scaricando la nostra app, quindi se non l'avete ancora scaricata, scaricatela, usate gli auricolari e potete sentire la traduzione simultanea. Dette queste due cose, queste due parole, io ve lo introduco senza perdere altro tempo. Terry Gilliam. That's it. Before we start, we wanna watch the trailer of the movie.
Before we watch it, I want to thank you all for coming to my house today. I'm sorry, this is my little Italian house. My house in London is much bigger. But thank you for coming.
Se dalla regia ci mandate il trailer, grazie.
Sono colui per il quale sono espressamente riservati i pericoli. Io sono Don Chisciotte della Mancia.
Aiuto! Questo si è rotto! Non ti capisco, maledizione!
Sì, stop, bel lavoro.
Molte cose sono cambiate dai tempi del tuo film.
Il vecchio che faceva Chisciotte è ancora vivo.
Sancho? Sciocco di un contadino. Al film potremmo andare cercando avventure insieme.
Don Chisciotte della Mancia!
Venuto per far rivivere il perduto ordine della cavalleria!
L'ho scritto io!
Blasfemia! È stata la mano di nostro Signore a portarmi qui.
Posso leggerlo?
Un contadino come te non sa leggere. Io declamerò i versi e tu guarderai le figure.
È convinto di essere Don Chisciotte?
Allora ci divertiremo.
È un santo!
È un pazzo!
Sancho!
Sì!
Mi hai promesso che potevo diventare qualcuno.
Sì, puoi diventare una star. Io non sono Sancho e tu non sei Don Chisciotte.
Questa è follia!
Vi intimo di liberare il mio sparviero!
Io non lo conosco nemmeno.
Io sono Don Chisciotte.
I want to know why you're not in the local cinema watching that movie. Why are you here?
They're gonna watch it later. So, first of all, Terry, I would like to ask you about, why did you decide to make this movie, waiting so long?
Originally, I didn't decide. I think Don Quixote decided to make me make a movie. And we started very well. We even got to shoot for 5 days with Johnny Depp and John Rochefort, and then the world collapsed. And everybody said, stop now. And I don't like people to tell me stop. And so we continued. And strangely, producers used to come to me, and these producers were kind of like Don Quixote. They believed they could make this impossible film. They all promised me lots of money, lots of everything. And we would then spend 1 or 2 years working and no money. So we stopped, we started again. And in the end, it was 29 years. And I was always very worried that people like you who saw the documentary would be very disappointed when they saw the film, because your imaginations are probably more interesting than mine. And that was the biggest problem. But eventually we got the money, and eventually we made the film, and eventually I won't have to go around the world promoting it.
And
That was a joke. Come on. Where's the laughter? Where's the laughter in this group? Come on. If we don't get some laughter, we're all going to die horribly.
how did you how did you feel the first time you watched it in a theater?
It's a very dangerous thing. You spend this very long time working on a film. You then do the first assembly, which is not the finished film. It's the first time all the pieces are stuck together. And it's always the most painful part of making a film. You realize you've wasted 20-some years of your life because it's a piece of shit. And then you go to work, and then you spend a few more months cutting, changing, moving, and ultimately, I love the film. In the end, we made something that I really am proud of. All the people who worked on it worked so hard, and I think it's a wonderful film. I would like you to agree with me, but you don't have to. You can decide what you think when you see it.
And you know, the first time that the movie was announced, how did you feel that time when you knew that it's done? We are here finally. Why this movie is so important to you?
No, it's great because you spend a lot of time, you work with a lot of wonderful people. It's very difficult making films. And at the end of it, if you've made something that everybody involved feels they've been involved, that they've done their part, they've all added to it, and at the end they like the film, that's the really wonderful moment. Sometimes the audience, the one I care about the most, are the people that actually made the film. And it's great when the rest of the world also likes it. But it's funny when you spend that much time focused on one idea and now it's over. It's not a good feeling because there's nothing waiting for you. For all of those years, I would go and make other films. I made opera. Whenever I finished whatever job I was doing, there would always be Don Quixote standing back there saying, "Hello, hello, can we make a film about me?" He's not around anymore, so it's a very lonely life I'm leading. Luckily, one or two of you are here in my house, so I don't feel lonely.
I think that in this movie there are some references to Federico Fellini. Do you agree?
Yes, not just Fellini. Fellini was, to me, one of the great gods of cinema, but also Pasolini, De Sica. There are so many Italian film directors that meant so much to me because there's a quality in this country and the people who make films about this country that is so different from England or America. There's a big heart here, and there's intelligence here, and people are not afraid of reality. That's what I like. They don't bullshit themselves about what reality is or should be. And it's a delicate balance because Italians can sometimes become too cynical, but most of the times, Italians have such a big heart, such a big spirit, that life does not destroy them. Life is what they feed on. I'm very happy. Just the minute I have a house in Italy, I actually do. It's not as nice as this, but every time I come, I feel I'm in touch with reality again. Living in London, it's so easy to get caught up in fake news, fake Trumps, fake everything. A city is not the same as an Italian city, and that's important. So I'm always very happy when I come here. So thank you, Italy.
In general, what do you think is the responsibility of making movie?
That's it. Now, this question is very, very much about the L'uomo che uccise Don Quixote. The film is very much about the responsibility of filmmakers, because films have replaced the kind of books that Don Quixote read in the 17th century. Those were books about chivalry and knights and romance and heroes. Films have replaced that. And now we can dream of being an Avenger? Oh, come on. You don't need superpowers. That's my problem now. Films, the heroes all tend to be superpowered or freak-powered heroes. And I think that's very sad. I really love real people who survive and are able to achieve impossible and difficult things. We can do it. We don't need superpowers. So that's my lecture for today about cinema.
Next year will be the 50th anniversary of the Monty Python. So how will you celebrate that time, that date?
We're discussing how to have a birthday party for Monty Python. And some of us think it's a stupid idea. Others are desperate to remind the world that we still have products to sell. And we don't know yet. We are going to do something next year, but I'm not sure what it is. It won't be on stage like we did in 2014. We're getting too old and feeble. The others are. I'm getting younger. I'm growing the opposite direction that the others are. They're becoming responsible senior citizens. I don't want responsibility like that. That's boring.
Do you think it's still possible, joking, filming, writing, like you and the rest of Monty Python did in the past years?
It's not impossible, but more comedians are being more cautious because part of the world has developed such thin skins that are so thin that you say this or that and somebody is waiting to take offense. That makes me very angry because we should develop thicker skins because it's too easy to become a victim, too easy to take offense. People also find it hard to distinguish between humor and hatred. I mean, I was doing an interview for a German magazine and they said some of the things I have said are similar to what the far-right neo-Nazis are saying. And I said, if you cannot distinguish between the difference between humor and hatred, you are in trouble. And it does worry me that we are finding it harder to distinguish. Humor is wonderful. Good humor is about the truth. And the truth can be uncomfortable. There's nothing wrong with this. And yes, you use cliches, you use caricatures, but Italians have a certain quality that we all seem to think is true. It's a simplification, but it becomes fun to play with, as long as you love Italians, which I do. And this is part of humor, and I think anything that starts limiting humor is, to me, the beginning of the end of decent civilization. We have to learn to laugh at each other, not just constantly support each other. Laughter can be a great support, but I just find life is so wonderful, it's so complicated, it's so difficult, it's so ironic. We must hold on to the irony of life or die.
So in the end, do you think that it's possible to joke about everything? What is, in your opinion, the role of comedy?
No, I think everything is potentially funny. You can tell a joke maybe at the wrong time. You don't want to tell a joke about a lady dying when your friend's mother has just died. That's a bad time. Timing is essential for comedy. Good, not only in the way you tell a joke, the way you time a joke, when you tell the joke, who you tell it to is all very important because you've got to be sensitive to other people. But as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing that you cannot make a joke about. In Monty Python, one of my favorite sketches is a disgusting, outrageous sketch where John Cleese comes into a funeral parlor dragging a big sack. And Graham Chapman is the funeral director. And John has this problem because in the sack is his dead mother. And the funeral director says, well, what do you want? You could bury her, you could cremate her. And John is not sure. And he said, well, you know, ultimately, if you can't decide, we could just cook her, you could eat her, and if you don't like her, you could throw up into the grave. Now, the BBC was really nervous about that joke. It's very bad. And the only way we could do it in the end was to have the audience rush the stage and start attacking us for this horrible, horrible, offensive joke. But we did it, and that was important. And the world did not stop.
Back in the days, you decided to move to United Kingdom. Why was that?
I mean, I moved to London in 1967. And being an American and being well educated, we were all educated to take responsibility for the world we were part of. And I felt the Vietnam War was going on, civil rights was moving forward, feminism was moving forward, gay rights were moving. It was an exciting time because we were fighting to make the world a better place for more people. But after years of that, I was just getting tired, and I was living with a beautiful English girl, and she wanted to return to London, and I wanted to come back to Europe because a year before I had been auto-stopping around Europe, and I suddenly felt, I love this place because all of these different cultures, this long history, the good, the bad. It was, to me, a fascinating place because the modern word now we would say is diversity. There was so much diversity in Europe. And everybody, Italians were Italians, the French were French, the English were English. Nobody was apologizing for their differences. It was just wonderful. And I wanted to be part of it. So I came to England with my girlfriend, and then we broke up.
Before we continue, we will watch another clip from the movie. Se dalla regia ce la mandate, grazie.
Io sono Don Chisciotte della Mancia e nacqui nell'anno di nostro Signore 1605 per speciale volere del cielo, per far risorgere l'età perduta della cavalleria. Io sono colui per il quale sono espressamente riservati i pericoli, le grandi imprese e persino gli eroici fatti. Ho 400 anni. Non è facile vivere così a lungo, però non posso morire. A meno che, forse, non riesca a liberarmi dei miei stessi sogni.
Santo cielo. Javier.
Sancho? Sei davvero tu? Sancho!
No.
Sancho, sei... sei tornato! Sei tornato a salvarmi! Oh, vecchio manigoldo!
Ok. Io non sono Sancho. No. E tu non sei Don Chisciotte.
No, tu sei Sancho. Sancho, ascoltami. Tu Adesso mi salverai da questi incantatori, eh? Ti prego, Sancho, salvami. Portami via, Sancho.
Ok, sì, ora però ho un impegno, magari dopo.
No, Sancho!
D'accordo,
Ti prego, Sancho!
lasciami andare.
Salvami.
Ehi, mi fate uscire! Mi aiuti!
Sancho, ti prego, non
Scusa,
lasciarmi!
devo andare.
Non posso! Ah! Che cosa stai facendo? Non toccarmi! Stammi lontano, vattene! Vecchia befana!
So in the end, if you have to choose between Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, who would you choose?
No, you need both. You need both Quixote, the madman, the dreamer. That's part of all of us. And we also need Sancho Panza, the pragmatist, whose feet is firmly on the ground. We all have this double act inside of us, and it's important to remember that. We're neither one nor the other. That scene, to me, is one of my favorite scenes because it's about what you were asking earlier about the responsibility of a filmmaker. And that's the moment when Adam Driver, who made a film 10 years before with local people from a village, and the film was called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, he has come back and he's discovered how this film has affected their lives. And the man who was a shoemaker who played Don Quixote has become mad. He's crazy, and he is taken in the back of this truck around to fiestas where he performs his part. And on the sheet, we're seeing the film that he was in, that Toby made. And the moment Toby stands in front of the screen, he stands in front of the man who played Sancho Panza. And Quixote thinks Sancho has come to rescue him from this nightmare of repetition of this film, playing the film again and again. And the scene is important to me because I have become that Don Quixote. I'm taken around city after city where I talk about the film again and again, just like this. I'm trapped in that scene. So it's the price you pay for making movies.
You wrote your own autobiography, and I think we have the cover. If you can show it, here we are. So, why did you decide to put your life into a book?
It wasn't supposed to be an autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter wanted me to make a book about the artwork I had done, all the drawings, cartoons, and she put all of the pictures on her iPad, and I started talking about them. And the more I talked about them, I suddenly was telling, quote, the story of my life, and it became this autobiography. But I didn't want to call it that. I wanted to call it my Grand Theft Auto biography, because it's dangerous, it's messy, a lot of people get knocked over. I didn't want to do an autobiography, but I ended up unable to stop talking about myself. It's disgusting.
I think this is I can do the last question to you. So this year the theme of this fest is simplicity. As a filmmaker, what do you think is simplicity?
Whoa. Well, all I can say is in Quixote, I tried to avoid computer-generated images. I wanted to shoot something in the real world so you could smell it, feel it. The real world affects even the filmmaking, how you shoot, how you tell your story. I wanted to escape from the success of all of the films that depend totally on a false created, beautifully made CG world. We're watching animation films now. There are very few what I consider truly live action films. Real people in real situations doing things. So in that sense, I suppose it's simpler than some of the things I've done before. And also now, I'm less interested in trying to do extraordinary images. I'm most interested in the actors, who are the characters. That's what I care about, how they perceive their character, how they change the film by their own truths. And that's it, nothing more than that. It also makes it easier when you can't get big money for your films. The smaller the budget, the probably more simple your film will be. So don't become too successful where you can get $150 million to make a movie.
Terry Gilliam.